some of the schools were happy the Afrocentric school got approved. You know why they? Because they say that this was an opportunity for us to unload some of our troubled students. The ones that were struggling, why don't we recommend that they go to the Afrocentric school? So it was used as a dumping ground for the other schools that had difficulty.
The black children.
Much like what they did with a lot of the trade schools in the 70s, the tech schools.
So
You know, you found that it found like 70–80% blacks going there, and certain teachers, and especially certain hardline teachers, and certain teachers that really didn't care, were sent there. You know, it
And
was
I'm gonna come
like,
back
it was
to
like a
this because
punishment
that
for
word-
the teachers as well as the students. to be sent
So
there
they
to
used it as a
work.
dumping ground, and they did not provide the resources and supports at Afrocentric school to deal with this population. And the word that you just mentioned, is care. This is, how do we move forward? You asked that question. Do we care enough about our children to go to the bat for them?
So how can we help? We can maybe even look at this in a situation today, and it's not just a off the cuff thing, but it's always thought that I'm coming with here. What can we do to help them?
I'm going to just go back. I don't. The village doesn't exist.
Right?
My village was the 10 mothers, the 10 fathers. It was
Right.
one pot of food that used to serve everybody.
See?
You could come into the house and food was there for you, right? You know? If I needed something, I could call out to the next house across the street. You know, Auntie Lucy, you have any of this, right? You know, that was a village, right? It doesn't exist. So don't stop talking about it, because even the closeness, the proximity, used to be there. Just when we're going to kind of get some sugar, right? We can't do that no more. But considering that this is 2020 and everything has changed, the landscape has changed, what do we put in place that can replicate that whole thing about the village, which was about caring? That's what it was, about loving and caring.
Right. I've lived that. So with Dylan, especially, for most of his entire basketball career, whether it's practices, home games, away games, anything, I was usually the only father there. So his teammates at Oakwood, and
So there's a basketball game going on and you're the only father there?
I'm the only father for the team. Well, even both teams, I'm the only one.
And I was in what area?
He was in Oakwood. Well, it's all over Toronto.
No.
And you're talking in what, the early 2000s?
Yeah, then I was 91, so later 2003, 2004, 2005.
Yeah, but my son is a little older.
Right?
He's absolutely right. I was the only father.
And I'm going to
at
tell
my
you why
son's
we have the
age.
problem today.
The only, in fact, there was no mothers here either.
Let me finish the point for a second.
Yeah.
The reason I'm
No,
saying
but you're
this,
right, but I'm going to put a twist on it.
but the reason I'm saying this is because to this day, enough of them youths that played on his teams still call me pops.
Because you showed up, you cared.
But I also had interaction with all of them.
So,
So when you say the village, I still have connections with these youths today, right? And that rallying cry has to happen amongst us
Oh,
somehow.
yes.
So,
Definitely.
and I know they're willing and ready to work. So what can we do to motivate them now? Because if I call up Dylan's 4 or 5 of his friends today, I'll see them tomorrow. They'll come.
because you cared. So the twist I'm going to put on it, right, is something that, so I work with young people. I go to basketball tournaments. I speak at basketball tournaments as part of the Zero Gun Violence movement work. It's sad to say, you're correct. Some places I go to a tournament, I'm talking to the youth because there's no parents. But then I go into another neighborhood and there's a basketball tournament and there's parents galore. They even bring their own chairs,
Yes, I.
right? They're set,
I've been there.
right? So the place is rammed with parents.
And what kind of neighborhood is that?
In a rich neighborhood there.
All right then.
The wealthy,
Yeah.
the affluent.
So they have the family structure, they have the support, they have the care, they have the love.
So it's not a matter, so what you're talking about is not a matter of race or ethnicity,
It's economics too,
right?
right?
Okay.
Because
I'm
sometimes
sure-
the
I'm
parents are
sure-
not there because they're out working.
Right.
right? So all these things come into play, but we cannot come up with a solution to this unless we put all the pieces on the table and be honest, right? So you're right. Like I'll go into one neighborhood and I say, how many of you have been impacted by gun violence? You know somebody that has been impacted by gun violence for you. Everybody put up their hand. And I go to another neighborhood and I ask us that dumbass question, right? You know, and nobody put up their hand. So
Okay.
Toronto has become a city of cities, right? With resources, class,
For some.
economics,
And then
it's divided.
Yes, sir.
So that word that you mentioned, I come back to it, is balance. We're not a balance.
Right.
We're balanced.
So Louis, you know, so I'm gonna catch you, so I may have some questions for you.
That's good. Fine, I'm telling you, it's fair game.
No, that was